Hello, Tzaddikim and Tzaddikisis from around the entire world. Today I have the amazing privilege to be interviewing Shlomo, Simcha, Sufrin. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here. And I love what you do, spreading inspiration throughout the world. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to be having a conversation about the struggles of teenagers. We decided to do this topic beforehand. Um, so let's get into it. First, introduce yourself and then we'll get into it.
So my name is Shlomo Simcha. Sufrin is my last name. I was born on Simcha's Torah, so they called me Simcha. And music career, I sing. I have albums out. I've been singing for the last 30 years. And the last 3 years, there were a lot of kids over here that needed this help, and they really didn't have where to be. We decided to start, and thank God it's been very successful. So the question might be, so how do I fall into educating teenagers? Where does that happen from? So just to give you a little background, when I was a teenager, when I was 12 already, I had a lot of questions. I had questions on faith, questions of what we're doing, why we're different than the Gentiles around us. I grew up in England. My perception was everyone's having a great time, and we're learning. We don't know really what it's about, and is this just a way of life that my parents picked, and therefore I'm by default having to do, or is this really something that is to me? I'll never forget one of my Rabbi says, if you're a good Jew, you're going to go to Gan Eden and you're going to learn forever. And I'm thinking to myself, forever? I can't wait for recess. They're telling me I'm going to be stuck in a class forever. I totally didn't get the whole, what it's about. And I had a lot of questions. And eventually I rebelled. I didn't feel I was going to be the answer. England is very much a place of children should be seen and not heard. And I felt I wasn't being taken seriously. So I really did stand up. In the beginning, they thought, he's bored. Let's bump him up a class or two. So the bottom line is as I was turning 13, I was in a class of 15-year-olds. The boys were turning 15.
Wow.
And I was getting all their information with half the brain. And I was like, my head was exploding. I was like, this is ridiculous. I got to get out there in the world. And my father realized that, it's a real problem. And he wrote to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe said to speak to some close friends that understand in this, and he did. And he was told about this rabbi in Yerushalayim, Rabbi Sufrin, was a very kind man, and he had a lot of institutions of chesed, and he gave out Meals on Wheels, he helped the sick, he had a lot of organizations, and he also had a yeshiva for kids at risk, for lack of a better term. There wasn't even such a term then, but it was a yeshiva for guys that just weren't cutting it, right, which was something that really at that time was shoved under the carpet. It was a rarity. And my father was such a loyal Lubavitcher chassid. He was like, there's no way I am moist nefesh. I give myself over to the Rebbe and my son's going to go outside of the institution.
Right.
Because there was total unawareness of the danger that was there.
Right.
I don't think he realized to what degree. Anyway, he did nothing, and then 6 months later, it really deteriorated bad. And he wrote in again. Rabbi Grona called him and said, the Rebbe said, we dealt with this already. What's going on?
Oh, wow.
So he told Rabbi Grona, listen, the only advice I was getting is to send my son outside of Chabad. I'm not doing that. Turns out a few months later, Rabbi Hertz, who was the rabbi in the Shiva in London, and the shul, the Chabad shul where I lived, stopped by on a Sunday afternoon. He was out walking with his wife. He came in and he asked my father, what's going on with Shlomi? And he asked him what's been advised, and he convinced him. He says, you got to send him to this place. It's amazing, and I promise you, he will get the foundations of Emunah over there, and don't worry about Hasidus, it will come later.
Wow.
Yesterday was my father's 10th yahrzeit. Right shortly after my father's first yahrzeit, I happened to be singing at the wedding of a grandchild of Rabbi Hertz in Lakewood.
Wow.
And Rabbi Hertz comes over to me and says, you're Shlomo Sufrin. I said, yeah. He said, I was once in Yechidus with the Rebbe, and he spent half an hour with me discussing you.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And then he suddenly says, I better not say anything. He suddenly shut down. He didn't want to talk about it. And I was like, no way, you're not dropping that bomb and leaving. And they're calling me, we have to start the second dance. And I said, I'm not going anywhere. I need this information. So he's thinking a little bit. He's doing some editing. I don't know what he was editing, but he basically said, the Rebbe told me about Rabosh's yeshiva, and he explained me exactly what it's about. And he told me that you'll get the basics of Emunah over there, and that Hasidus will come later. Okay. Yeah. So I called my mother right after the event. It was like 5:00 in the morning, and I was like, Rabbi Hertz told me this thing. What's going on? What don't I know? She says, now I understand. So she told me one Sunday afternoon, he knocked on the door that he was out walking with his wife. And she said to me, I thought it was suspicious. He's not the kind of guy that goes walking with his wife. And they popped in. It was like, okay, come in. She made some coffee. She made some tea. And he convinced my father to send me to this yeshiva. So what she realized now is that the Rebbe told him to convince my father, but not to say it in his name, because he was sensitive to the fact that my father felt that sense of loyalty, and he didn't. It couldn't come from the Rebbe.
Oh my gosh!
But what that did for me, 20 years after, I always had. I didn't send my kids to the Lubavitch school. They went to regular schools. Just from an education point of view, I never made it through that system.
Right.
And I felt, quite frankly, a little abandoned and betrayed. And
do you believe your children will go through a similar experience as you if you brought them to that school?
I don't think it wasn't even that. It was just like, I don't know it. It stopped for me at 13.
Right.
I just don't know it. And growing up as a Lubavitcher and having all the misnagdim, I figured it's hard enough being a Jew. I want my kids to be mainstream. Let them pick whatever they like, but let them be accepted in the mainstream, and we'll go from there. That was my thought process. But when I found out that the Rebbe had spent that amount of time on my future,
wow,
I cried the whole night. I was an absolute wreck. It made me realize that I was not abandoned, and that it wasn't as bad as it looked, and there was somebody watching out. And that really gave me a resolve that I really wanted to do something for the kids of today, because what if Rabbi Hertz didn't do that? What if the Rebbe didn't do that? What if all the people along the way, were not there for me? Where would I be today? I would hate to think where I would be today. I think I would still be famous, because that was my destiny. But the question is, famous for what? Maybe infamous. God gives us energies. How we use those energies very much has to do with free choice. So I always wanted to give back, and our home was always open. And when people had trouble, they would come. But it's limited one-on-one, what you can do. But we did things, I was a chazan in a shul of 1,200 families. It's a modern Orthodox shul. And when kids were in trouble, they knew they could call me. Like literally for things like whatever. I don't know what, I want to keep this G, but there were situations that people needed quick advice, and we were able to be there. But in my heart, I always felt that I wanted to pay it forward. When I moved to Boca 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I moved because of COVID. My singing career primarily was in the States.
Okay.
And every time crossing the border between the States and Israel, Europe, every time you had to cross the border, it was quarantined for 2 weeks. It was just like, it was becoming more and more difficult to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 3 married kids already living in the States. So we figured maybe it's time to move to the States. And I have a daughter in Boca. We moved to be near her. And at the beginning, it was very strange for me here because, like, what am I doing in Boca?
Yeah.
Like, just waiting for the next gig to go to. It's just like a holding station. Like, what am I doing here?
Right.
Why am I in Boca?
What's your purpose?
What's my purpose? Exactly. And when we don't feel a sense of purpose, our neshama starts dancing. It doesn't like it.
It's
So
true.
I started feeling a little down. I was like, what? Like, I just like, what am I doing here? And then I was sitting next to Rabbi Ben Klein in shul, and he was telling me, and he made Aliyah, very nice. The one guy I got to know, he's leaving, fine. A few months later, he's back. I said, what happened? He said, well, the kids, wasn't good for the kids, the schools, I couldn't work it out. And he said, also, before I left, I was teaching kids that were thrown out of schools and that didn't have a structure. And I really feel that there needs to be like yeshiva high school for kids over here that are coming. There are a lot of people moving, especially during COVID. A lot of people moved from New York, a lot of people moved from Chicago, from different places. And they were just by default going to Chavetz Chaim, but it wasn't speaking to them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't speaking to them, and they were just lying in the hallways. They weren't participating. They're like literally, he's telling me, he says, I will walk in the cloakroom and there's these kids who had been drinking all night who, they left the house so the parents could think they went to school. And it just wasn't, it just like wasn't happening. And Boca in general, a lot of people came here either because of COVID. I'm saying even parents that were running away from something. Sometimes it was divorce, sometimes family issues, sometimes it was business issues. And there's also a lot of rehab centers here. Some people came because one of their parents was in rehab.
Wow.
So the family moved. So these boys really needed to make sense of what's going on around them. And I said to him, if you're ready to do it, he said to me, I need someone, I need a name, I need something. I said, listen, I'm ready to do it. If you'll take on the financials and the admin, I'm in with you.
Wow.
And this was 6 weeks before September. And he goes, okay, we're starting September. I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And he was already teaching a few boys and he spoke to their parents. And the bottom line is by September 1st, we had about 16 boys.
Wow. Wow.
And we started.
Wow.
And my thing was, I'm going to do everything that I wish I had when I was a teenager. Give them love, listen to them, let them be. I remember we bought this rack for telephones, and we said, okay, when we start classes, everyone put your phones in here, and then you can just take them back. It's on an honor system. I think at the end of the year, we were able to return it to Amazon because nobody ever put a phone in there. And, they sitting in class and just on the phones, I was competing with the phones. And eventually I'd say, you know what, guys, let's do 5 minutes, no phones. One phone we put a timer on, then it went to 10 minutes, then it went to 15 minutes. And slowly we had a room with couches where guys could chill. Nobody was forced to daven. Nobody was forced to come to shir. But eventually, they started getting involved and eventually started coming more. And the rest is history. I mean, we've had tremendous success. What was amazing about the success is, like boys that decided to go to yeshiva and boys that decided to take it seriously. You would think that we were talking there all day and saying, guys, you need to get your lives together and you got to learn. No, we took them on trips. We did things. We chilled with them. We went on Shabbatons. We had Farbrengens. Boys opened up and spoke their hearts out, things they're going through. And we listened to them. And, like amazing things came out. And once they got a good sense of self, things turned around.
Wow.
I had a boy who wanted to be a cop. He's fascinated, everything cops. He's watching cop videos, cop there all day. So I said, you know what, if you come to shir this week, I'm going to take you shooting. Great. He comes to share that week. We take him shooting, whatever. Little did I know that what I didn't know is he had a sister that committed suicide.
Wow.
And they used to live in Lakewood, and the family was in disarray. And they moved over here to get away and to try. And his whole wanting to be a cop was because he felt this need to save lives. And I didn't know all that, but I also didn't know that he had an episode where he had to go in. He was depressed. And how did it express itself? He disarmed the cop, and I took him shooting because I was no wiser. I didn't know anything. But the bottom line is, moving forward, I mean, God took care of us. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. But at the end of the day, one day he walks in, white shirt, jacket, hat. I was like, oh, what's going on? He says, I decided I don't want to be a cop anymore. I want to be like you. I want to be a teacher. He says, I could save lives or I could save souls. I'd rather save souls.
Wow.
And he is in Eretz Yisrael in yeshiva. And he's doing amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. But I never, ever told him, your goal is to be in yeshiva. We basically want to say, okay, you want to be a cop? We'll get you there. You need to have basic high school. You need to have. Not everyone is going to go to yeshiva. And that's not our goal. When parents ask me, what's the yeshiva's agenda? Every yeshiva has an agenda. Chavetz Chaim, there's a system. You go, there's 5 years of koilel, this, you do kiruv, you go, you travel. There's a system. I said, our agenda is the boys. So I said, so how many boys do you have? At the time, I think it was 29. So I said, so you have 29 agendas? I said, yep, we do.
Wow.
We do. And there are boys that we have. We had one boy that was a whiz at computers, and he was an amazing hacker, but he wanted to do it for good. And we got him advice actually from a student council, guidance counselor from a public school, and advised what courses he should take. He now has a job with a credit card company in the fraud department. He's making $500 an hour.
Wow. Wow.
And he after he started the job, he decided he wanted to go to yeshiva, and he asked them for a year off, and they gave him the year off. And he's done the year yeshiva, and he's now going back to work. So it's really like we have all sorts, but the idea is that they have a healthy sense of self.
Wow.
So that's my background. But this brings us to the topic of today of, teenagers and the struggles of teenagers. Yeah, my father, who was in education for many, many years, he had this line. He said, teenagers don't have problems. They have challenges. The difference is, problems is when you have a wife and kids and you're going through something, and if you're not at work, there's no food on the table, that's a problem. When you're going through figuring out who you are and what you are, that's a challenge.
It's not a problem.
But God designed the world that you have those years. Society allows you those years where they don't expect yet from you anything, and you have the time you have a time to be egoistic, you have a time to be selfish, you have a time to learn about yourself, so that when you hit 20, you can start being focused on giving back to the world. And it's a very powerful thing. I always tell the boys that this is a phenomenal opportunity. These years are a phenomenal opportunity because life won't give you that break again to just take time off.
And also you also need that time to build yourself up and build your personality, build the things about you to be able to give back to other people,
100%. So that's basically that's a big thing that I see today. Teenagers need to be heard. They need to be accepted, and they need to know what their true value is. Like after davening in the morning, I tell the guys, you woke up this morning, there's no pocket change by God. If you woke up this morning, you are an integral part of the universe. The 5,000 years of the 6,000 years the universe was created for, you are an absolute part, not by accident. You are a purpose. God created you on purpose and put you here in 2026 on purpose. So get excited because you're part of something cosmic. You're part of something awesome. And you are awesome. You were created awesome. We're created in God's image. You have to be awesome. It's not just a thing that we're saying. It is the reality. Mm-hmm. And, that's how we start. And to have a positive sense of self is a very important thing.
Okay. And for the parents of these teenagers, it's hard to accept that. And it's hard to be welcoming and open when they're worried about their teenager. Usually it's not coming out of anger, it's usually coming out of worriedness. How does the parent accept the teenager in that space? Because right now we're talking about the teenager and to give them all the love and acknowledge them and give them a healthy space to grow. But from the parent side, it's also very difficult to see their teenager in that space and believing that they're safe and believing that they have the people around them to keep them safe and the right people around them. So, from a parent's view, how do they stay sane and still being able to accept them and love them without giving off the wrong idea?
It's a very, very good question. It's an exceptional question. As a parent, it is a huge challenge. It is a huge challenge because the parents, and again, what was back in the day is irrelevant. Right now in 2026, parents do not have the kind of say with their children. There is a limit to what a child is ready to accept from the parents, being for a few good reasons. Being that the child is aware that the parents grew up in a very different environment. Mm-hmm. Don't give me examples of your childhood. You didn't even have cell phones. You didn't even have internet. Like we still have teenagers today whose parents, remember the first text.
Wow.
So you want to talk to me about what you did? What were your options? Throw stones in the woods? Build a fern house in the forest? You didn't have our challenges. In England, if I went to my non-Jewish neighbor to watch TV, by 10 o'clock, channel 1 was just beeping. It was off. See you tomorrow morning. There wasn't even 24-hour TV. Like, even if I snuck out and went, it was done by 10 to 11. That was it. So things are very different. Like, we can't compare our challenges. Mm-hmm. It's very, very different. And what's interesting is there were no phones. So you went to school, and if it was an hour to school, I always wondered, like, what do my parents think? Like, we used to have non-Jews start with us in the streets and kick us and do, what if I get, I don't know, what if I end up in the hospital? How are my parents ever going to know? And there was always that worry if you were late, like, where is he? We had to do that. And today, with the cell phones where you can call any second, the worry is so much greater. Where are they? What are they doing? How are they doing? It is very hard for parents. And I think it's important for parents to remember that they have a partner. And the partner is God. And there's an area where the parent's job, we can't be God. We cannot know every second. We need to give that unconditional love, and we have to pull back. And the parents do need to trust a little bit the teachers. I mean, I'll have it sometimes where parents tell me what's going on with my kid. And I would say, I can't really tell you because I have a trust with your child, and I'm not going to break that trust. But if you're worried about your child, I can tell you they're doing good, and they're doing well.
I think something very important as well is teenagers back off from the parents when they don't feel comfortable telling them things. So as soon as they start gatekeeping, and stop telling them things, that's when the parents have no idea where they are. But when the parents build that trust with the kid, the kid comes to them when something's wrong, when something's happening. The child always goes to the parents. So the parents eventually know where they are. When you build that kind of connection, when you say, for everyone on here, when he says to give them love and unconditional love, that's what it almost means. Meaning, when you give so much to the teen, like eventually they're gonna start coming you for things. When you stop getting mad at them when they come home, or they call you from a party. If the child calls you from a party to pick them up, go and pick them up. They're coming to you when they're hurt, so they trust you when they're hurt. So then when they're hurt or something little happens in their life, they're gonna go to you when they need something. So then eventually you'll be part of your child's life. I see this a lot on Instagram, whatever. I see it a lot.
You're bringing up a very, very important point. I agree. I'm not saying, let me rephrase, because I'm not saying that I'm saying the parents have to have faith. Don't try and control the 24 hours in your kid's life. It's not a good thing. But if you have that unconditional acceptance of who your kid is, then yes, they will call you when they're at a party. I had a situation in the school. I had a kid. There is a Halloween party that goes on in Boca every year. You have to be 16 or 17 to get in. 15 not accepted, 18 not accepted. It's 16 and 17. And this party is where you go to get inaugurated into everything. This is the place. And the crazy thing is I see like parents dressing up their kids or dressing down their kids and dropping them off like they're so proud their kid is back. It's crazy. Anyway, so I overhear the boys talking about this Halloween party, and they came for months beforehand. Months beforehand. This is one kid that I know is totally innocent, and I know he's going to go there and done. Done means it'll just be 2 years of headaches and pains before he gets back to where he is right now.
Yeah.
But I can't, I talked about it a little bit. Anyway, we went to a trip in New York. We take him to see different Rebbes and different things. And he made a very good connection with a certain Rebbe. So a week before the party, I said to him, by the way, have you spoke to Rabbi Shore lately? He says, no. I said, why not? He goes, because he's going to smell it on me and he's going to tell me not to go to the Halloween party. So I'm not calling him to, and he's being honest with me, right? He's telling me I'm not calling him till after the party. Okay. Anyway, it comes the day of, and I try to call the rabbi and I can't reach him. And the truth is, I'm happy I didn't reach him, because don't play God. If you're going to do something, do it. Don't try to manipulate the situation. Anyway, bottom line is, he goes. And it's really, it bothers me, because I just know I could have saved him a cycle that he's just going to go. It's a shame, because he's going to go there, but there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. You can't play with certain faith. Anyway, I take out a Tehillim. 8 o'clock it started. 8 to 8:15, I said Tehillim. I said, that's all I can do right now. Close the Tehillim. 8:25, I get a phone call from the kid's father. Do you know where my son is right now? I said, yes. He's at a Halloween party. He says, he didn't tell me? I said, no. I said, we're not babysitters. This is your hours. That's between you and him to know where you are. He said, well, what should I do? I said, what happened? He said, I called and he wasn't answering, and I just called and called. I panicked. And after 12 times, he finally answered. He said, he's been good with his parents lately. He said, I don't want to lie to you. I'm at a Halloween party. So he said, what do I do? I said, what do you do? Go pick him up, give him a hug, tell him how proud you are that he was honest with you, and take him out. He said, I'm in the car with my wife. It's our date night. We're going out. I said, it's perfect. You'll both pick him up and you'll take him with you, and you'll go out another night. He's like, are you serious? I said, I'm dead serious. Anyway, he goes. I don't know, maybe 25 minutes later, my phone rings. It's the kid. He says, Rabbi, I don't know what to do. My parents, they're proud of me. They picked me up. They found out that I can't even look at them. And I was like, why can't you look at them? He says, I was about to break thousands of years of traditions of my family, literally, on so many counts. And they're proud of me. I can't even look at them. So I said, we'll talk about this tomorrow. You better get back in there. They're going to worry where you are. Bottom line is, this kid decided he wants to change his life. He wants something more. And he wanted to learn this. He wanted to learn that. He says, I want to learn Likutei Moharan. I said, sure. Well, buy Likutei Moharan. We'll start learning. I get a call from his father. You're teaching my son Likutei Moharan? Next thing, he's going to have payers. I said, make your mind up. What do you want? I said, we don't have an agenda. He asked me, can I teach him Likutei Moharan? Fine. Anyway, this goes on. Bottom line is, we're learning Tanya. And I'm telling him, as I was telling the rest of the class, you're not expected to be a tzaddik. Mm-hmm. God who creates you knows what it is. What is a Beinoni? What is the aspiration? You could come down for 70 years and every day in davening, the wildest thoughts come into your head and you push them out and you served your purpose. You chose God over you. And that made him happy. That's it. And if you realize that, you could have a dance after davening every day because you served God. Instead of feeling, I can't believe I had those thoughts. Why can't you believe you're a human? It's normal to have those thoughts. It's just, God said, give it up for me. Anyway, he said, no, he says, I want to be a tzaddik. I said, not everybody can be. He says, you're telling me if I want to be Moshe Rabbeinu, I can't be. I don't buy it. I said, Moshe Rabbeinu, wow, you set your goals high. Anyway, fast forward, he ends up going to Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and I take him to see the Nadvarna Rebbe, one of our donors who helps a lot of the boys. He's an Advarna Chassid. I took him for a bracha. I'm coming there and he says, ask him. Ask him about the Moshe Rabbeinu thing. So I told the Rabbi, I said, he says that he wants to be Moshe Rabbeinu. I told him he just has to be himself. And he says, and the Rebbe says, Ein dava oimid lifnei haratzon. Nothing stands before a person's free will. And he said, Ratzon is gematria Moshe. And he says that our will comes from the Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation. So he's not wrong. He said, if you want to be Moshe, you go. And you be Moshe. Now, this boy is up at 5 a.m. He's in bed by 10 at night. He davens v'sikin every morning. He has a schedule of how much learning he wants to do till he's 40 years old. He knows every hour of every day. I used to learn with him from 7 to 8.
His own Moshe Rabbeinu.
He wants to be his own Moshe Rabbeinu, his own version. So I had a shia with him at 7 a.m. Now, I'm sometimes up with the boys at 3, 4 in the morning. 7 a.m. is a tough time. So one day I'm on at 7:07. He tells me, Rabbi, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I can't make up this time. I have a shia right after you and one right after you. If you can't be on time, I'm going to have to find someone else. P.S. He fired me. He fired me. Terrible. It's great. It's great. I'm happy. Listen. My job.
He outgrown you.
Has me right. My job has me sometimes that I sleep late. I just couldn't do it on a 100% basis. And I was like, go for it. If you have somebody that can do it better, go for it. And it actually made me very happy and he's really, and he's consistent with it. And, like the parents told me they were worried he's going to burn out. I said, he's not going to burn out. Wow. Because he's enjoying every minute of it.
He had so much energy and he found his purpose.
And exactly. He's doing very well. He's doing extremely well. Wow. I've had boys that had girlfriends from the beginning of high school that did very well, that went to yeshiva, that the boys and the girls actually both went to yeshiva and seminary, and they wanted to know what the right diet was, how to maintain communication throughout. And we worked it out that everyone was in agreement, whatever it was.
This is your agreement. This is what you usually say. You say, send an email once a week and call on Friday because they're busy on Friday. I don't agree with it.
Okay. No, because who's busy on Friday? No, what I'm saying is Thursday night.
Oh, Thursday night. It was Thursday.
No, Thursday night in Israel is a party night.
No, you said Friday.
Yes. Because Friday day is more of a normal day. You can go have a coffee and see somebody. If you meet Thursday night, then you're getting into trouble.
Why?
I'm talking about guys that are in yeshiva. Why? Have you been to Israel?
Yeah, it's a party night, right?
Right. I mean, it just is what it is. The point of the matter is they're not coming to me. I'm not telling them what to do. They're coming and saying, how can we survive going to Israel?
Do you believe couples survive that?
Some yes, some no. I had 2 that went. One did, one didn't. Wow. Meaning there was not a bad. In other words, sometimes either the boy or the girl wants more, and that more would mean that the other person can't grow. See, that's the problem. You see, yeshiva and seminary, it's a time where you need to be able to grow. You're not supposed to have someone attached to your side at that point because that doesn't allow you. It's better to do all your exploring and all your thinking and all
you have to learn. Also, you also have to learn how to be independent. You can't be codependent on another person.
No, but during the growth period, if you're codependent during the growth period, you haven't grown. Right. That's the problem. Once you've done the growth on your own, and then you meet a partner, it's a different story. But when you're going through it, meeting a partner, it can work. Could work. It can work. You see, I had one couple that they get it, and there's no issues. They really undertook it. I had another couple where one saw it more than the other, and the other one felt that they're not being, they're not being taken care of. So it ended, which is a shame. I still believe that they might get married because they really had a very unusual. I mean, sometimes people are supposed to be soulmates, and it's just. But just because you might have met your soulmate doesn't mean that your timing is right.
It's true,
and it doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to mess it up.
All right.
So that's really what it was like I saw this couple. I really believe that they had something special. It wasn't like they really had something special, But and then there are other guys that are players, real players, and they lack respect for women.
Right.
And at some point, I'm non-judgmental and everything, but at some point, I have to teach them that if you, I remember one boy came to me because I caught him doing a very nasty thing. He picked up somebody, and then the next day gets his friend to call that he's starking. He's getting stark now. He needs to stark her so he can't call her back. No, 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 no. He was just one and done. And I looked at him, and he smirked, and he said, "Rabbi, we're going out now. You want to be my wingman?" I said, "Sure. When you start liking women, I'll
Wow.
be your wingman." That is no way to treat a woman.
And
So
what
I
did he
don't.
say? I want to know what he said.
He's a completely different boy at the time. He smirked, he smiled, we spoke about it, but he is a star today. He's
Wow.
a star. He's in yeshiva. He is amazing. He gives shiurim online every day. He's fantastic. And this was a guy. I can't even like he was the slick, cool. You can't imagine. He was the guy that was. They wrote songs about guys like that in the 70s. Um, and he turned around, unbelievable. And I
Wow.
never really told him you should be in yeshiva. I didn't know that would be his career. In fact, he went out to work, and he came into yeshiva, and he would come, and we'd learn for half an hour, and then he went to work. And after 3 months, he came back and said, "No, it's not what I want.
Wow.
Not now." And so he made a choice. So all these boys, all that's happening is they're finding themselves. Some in work, some in communities, some in. I have a kid that loves helping the special needs kids. He has a passion for it, and he's amazing, and he's going to have a career in it. That's who he is. But he also has a lot of challenges, and he also has his growing up to do and everything. But I don't necessarily see him ending up in yeshiva.
So
I have a
here,
kid that
yeah,
wants to
so
go to
here's
the
my
army.
question. Here's
Yeah,
my question. How do you know when a boy is ready to go to yeshiva? Because they're coming from YLS, a school that's a lot very different than a mainstream yeshiva, and a lot of boys they want to go from there to there very very quickly. They start learning. They want to go to Israel. They want to expand. And how do you know when that person is ready to take that step? Because it's going into a mold, into a box that they're not used to and they're not necessarily ready for. Maybe it will trigger them, maybe it will put them in a worse place than they were before. So how do you step up from going there? Maybe even something a little higher, but
that's a very good. Yeah, it's a very good question. We work very hard to place the boys in the right kind of place. We're not sending boys to Mir. We're not sending them to there are places that I know. I had one boy that wanted to go to a certain place. I said, if you're looking to be turned off from Judaism, go. You'll be done in 3 months. Because I know the mentality. I know the mentality of the Rabbi in there. I know, they fancy themselves as being cool, but they're not.
yeah,
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
yeah,
sometimes they
uh-huh,
think they know a few words, so that no, but they're not. They want a certain mold cut. It's not going to work. And the fact is, he didn't listen to me, and he went. They wouldn't take him. And the reason they wouldn't take him is because he is so brutally honest.
wow,
Like they said to him, so I mean, you have a past. Are you sure that's not going to creep up on you again? He goes, no, I'm not sure. We can never be sure. I know what I
do you
want
think
right
he
now.
deserved to go to that yeshiva, or do you think he was just out of the box?
I don't think it was a good fit for him.
It wasn't,
They
yeah.
didn't appreciate his candidness. I want to tell you something. The first time I met this kid, he was so brutally honest with myself. I said to him, you are going to go far. You know why? Because MS is one of God's names. You're
Mm.
an honest with yourself. And when you're honest with yourself, you will find
Wow.
the truth quicker than a lot of guys.
Yeah. I had a similar situation when I was trying out for a school because I
Yeah.
wanted to go to only girls school because I'm becoming more from. Um, and it was difficult because they're like, you're gonna have to take out your nose ring and you're gonna have to do this and you're gonna have to do that. I'm like, I'm not ready to do that. I was very honest with them. I said, this is where I'm at right now. I'm trying to grow in this way or that way. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. They didn't like that because I can't crap talk schools. But they when you're honest about where you're at, it's hard to get into most schools. But
you're right. You're right. It's a problem. It is a problem. When you're honest, you can't get into those schools.
it's a very big problem.
And
Because
that's
also
why
the people in the school are doing the same things I was doing. They just weren't
if
honest.
you can't get in for being honest, then that's not the place for you. Because you're going to get hurt.
Right.
Because you're going to be you at the end. And if they can't accept you, then you're in a place that you're unaccepted. You're not accepted. That's going to hurt you.
And also people should know not to mold themselves into a box. Because a lot of people, when they try out for the school and they're ready to put themselves in a very tight box, which they're not ready for. So they shatter themselves into pieces, like putting a plate in a jar. They crack themselves into pieces. It's not them anymore. It's a mold of everybody else just to get in. People have a problem being honest about which school they're gonna everyone, and they hurt themselves. They eventually hurt themselves and they lose themselves by trying to fit themselves into a box where they're not supposed to be in, when they're not ready for, or things like that.
100% right. They're not supposed to be in. I wouldn't even say they're not ready for. I think they should never be ready for that. I don't think molds is what the God wanted from us. I don't think that's what the Torah expected from us. And our relationship with God has to be a unique one. It has to be a unique one. I was born. These are the challenges God gave me. This is the nature God gave me. How do I best serve God? And here's the story. If you had exactly my emotions and my personalities, then one of us wouldn't exist, either me or you.
Right.
If we were the same, one of us would simply not exist. God does not have pocket change.
Do you think the schools should switch their systems from
I'm
how
sorry?
do you believe that the schools should switch their systems?
I think, listen, I think by default they are. It's just happening slower. Yes, I do think the schools have to change the system. But here's the thing that people have to realize. Rabbi Steinman said something amazing. He said, Torah doesn't change. Torah is eternal. Education changes with every year.
Wow.
Because you see, what happens is the reason why there's these boxes is because people say, we have to protect the Torah. We've got to make sure that it lasts forever. In the meantime, people are trying to put everything in the box. It's not working. The chinuch is, how do we convince our children? How do we convince is the wrong word because it's not a sale. How do we impress upon our children that this is the best thing for them in life and it's great? Torah has to taste good. If it's not, then they're not going to buy it. And
They
it
have to, from what you said earlier when you first started talking, they have to connect to the Torah on their own level. Because I think I recall telling you this on the phone. Let's say it's tznius reasons, yeah? Either you dress tznius for other people, or you dress tznius for yourself and for God. You have a deep connection with God. You're going to want to dress tznius. You'll feel comfortable in dressing tznius. You don't feel comfortable with God or doing for other people. You're going to feel icky and gross in the summer wearing long sleeves. You have to build your connection. You have to do it in your own way. You have to learn it in your own way in order to connect to it. It's the same Torah, but to every person, it comes out and reveals differently. So accepting it like everyone else is not personal. So you're doing something from how you were born, and it's not going to hit the same way. You're not going to feel it the same way. Once you connect to it on your own level, and you build off of your own connection with God, and you build your connection with God, and you do it because you love God, or you learn more if you don't understand, and then you connect easily, literally easily. You have your own connection. You want to have a connection with God.
I'm my youngest daughter. She's very, very frum. She's to the right of me, very much so. And I remember she would come home from school. She was in Bris Yaakov, and she goes, I don't understand my classmates. If you don't believe in tznius, give it up. If you do, do it. But play with a millimeter this way, and it is covered, it's not covered, it is see-through, it's not through. Like, because she's a no-nonsense person.
Yeah.
She's a no-nonsense person. She doesn't get it. She's not judging those who don't do it. She's saying, just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Just be yourself. Don't play on the thing. because she's very connected. She's very connected.
Wow.
So if her connection comes from like she has a beautiful voice, and she recorded the song and she sent it to me, and I was like, wow, you definitely could have a career. Today there's a lot of women. She goes like, absolutely not. I was like, why? What are you talking about? Men will hear my voice. I'm not having that happen on my thing. But she buys into it. I never spoke to her about it. She buys into it. This is who she is, and this is who she wants to be, and she has a very strong connection with God, and this is what she wants. So I never even spoke about anything. It's part of her personality, and she connects to it, and that's great because she's not suffering from it. She's not compromised from it. She's not being put in a box from it, which is the best way to be. I have kids that don't care as much, and they don't hear a word from me either, because there's the whole person. You cannot put someone in a box over a whole thing. There was, it's a package, and people have their struggles in specific areas, and that's fine. We all have our struggles. So that's, that's where it is. But I think going back to the parents thing, which is very important, I think if parents have the ability, some parents do not have the ability.
They don't know.
I've had certain cases, where I'll have a mother, for example, who really does get her child, but she'll tell me if the father finds out, it's a disaster. It will be World War III. It will destroy the child. He doesn't. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but sometimes that's the way it is. So it wouldn't be smart for that kid to expose to that parent. The kid has to pick. When you need to confine.
Yeah, but there's also Shabbatones and stuff for parents to learn how to deal with their kid.
And I strongly recommend them.
Yeah.
There is Avi Fisher has twisted
yeah,
parenting.
Yeah, my parents went to it. Yeah.
He's fantastic, and he's fantastic, and there's a way, and it's incredible. It's incredible. The parents that nail this, they have their children for life, and their children are productive. True. And the parents that don't go for it, and I have it, and I have the certain places culturally, it's like, oh, can you imagine what it'll be? Lakewood. I had a boy come to me from Lakewood. Since he's been 13, he believed that something he did, he was told by a Rabbi, he's never getting into Olam Haba. He is banished forever. He went through yeshiva, 13, 14, 15. By 19, he went to his parents and says, I'm leaving religion. I love you guys. If you want to be part of my life, you can, but I'm moving to Miami. So when they came here, they asked me to meet him. So I met him. He's musical. I said, whenever you want, you can come to Shiva, use our studio, whatever. And a few weeks after they left, he came to see me and he said, listen, he told me, I have no place in the world to come. So why would I waste my life?
What?
So I said to him, did your Rebbe tell you that we don't get punished till 20? He said, no. I said, well, they don't exactly shout it from the rooftops because otherwise everyone will just think, yeah, there's just party for 20. But God gives you God who created you, who knows that it's going to take time for your brain to catch up with your hormones, gave you till 20 to get it together. So,
wow.
And he's a changed boy since then. He's not all the way back, but certain things, yes. Slowly. He's now slowly incorporating and finding things that speak to him. Look, he's got a lot to get out of his system. One line is not going to just, put everything back. But he has to deal. He has to deal with the resentment of everything he knew. And he has to relearn religion anew because everything is PTSD. Everything. Shabbos is something that everyone else gets rewarded for, not him. Tefillin is everyone else gets rewarded, not him. Torah is. Can you imagine? Imagine living like that. Why should I not stop it? I should avoid McDonald's. Why? I'm going to hell.
Exactly.
I might as well have the sandwich. It's just such a tragedy. And the interesting is that the parents really did come around, and they really did support, and they really did come, and they really stepped up amazingly.
And it probably helped the child a lot.
A lot. And it's still helping the recovery now because they're really on board. But when did it hit them? Very late in the game. And why did he not feel comfortable enough to go to them beforehand and say, hey, I'm struggling with this,
Yeah.
You have to deal with things. And when you know your child's going through something, you have to know when to back off and when not. I had one thing with the child, and we had a debate in school. I asked the teenagers what would they do. I walked into a child's room and I saw they hid something, they whatever. I said, "What's under your blankets?" The kid said, "Dad, I'm going to ask you a once in a lifetime favor. I want you to give me a pass. Turn around and walk out.
Wow.
Once in a lifetime. I will never ask you again. I'm asking you to give me a pass."
Wow.
I turned around and walked out. So I asked the boys, "What would you do?" And right away they said, "Well, what if the kid's on drugs? What if the kid's on this? What if the kid's on that?" I said, "The kid's begging you. Maybe what it is more embarrassing than dangerous.
It's true. Wow.
You want your kid not to be able to face you again?" And we went through the whole debate, and it was very interesting. When they're trying to think about what they would do with their own child, it wasn't so easy. I do not regret that for a second.
Wow.
I will never know, and it doesn't matter, because I have a connection with my child, and my child is doing just fine. And whatever it was didn't kill him.
Wow.
And he has his dignity. It reminds me that it's a well-known story about a guy somebody stole something, kid stole something from another kid. And the Rabbi had all the boys line up against the wall, face the wall. And he went into the pockets and he found the boy with the pocket, with a thing, and he took it and he gave it back to the other boy, and everybody sat down. And he made no scene about it or anything. Anyway, when one of those classmates got married, he invited the Rebbe. When the Rebbe came, he said to him, "I want you to know, I owe my life to you that you didn't embarrass me that day." And the Rebbe said, "I never knew it was you. My eyes were also closed."
Wow.
That is a Rebbe.
Wow.
What would be the purpose to embarrass? The guy that took it knows he did it. He's going to feel bad. What am I adding by destroying him in front of his friends?
Wow.
So we have to be sensitive, and we have to realize, and there's another thing. We are living, what is unique about today? It's the doorpost of Mashiach. The doorpost of Mashiach, we as a lazy people, human beings are just lazy by nature. We left the hardest garbage to the end. All the neshamas that are coming back now, they've got no free time because all that's left to deal with is the garbage. So immediately they're right in the deep end. Okay, this is tachlis. Oh, really? Can't you just give me a break? Can you not give me some crisis when I'm 40? No, it's right now because
Wow.
Mashiach's coming and it needs to be done. But don't worry, I'm going to give you the energy. And that's why
it's a great way to
guys are
look at
such
it.
stark.
That is
What's that?
It's a great way to look at it.
That's what it is. It's funny. I met a classmate of mine, one of my partners in crime. We made such trouble. And he's running a community today of over 1,000 families. He's a big star and everything. So he says to me, "Let's look at all the A students in the class that were the good boys that sat the teacher's pets. One's a librarian in this, like we were looking like nothing. Now let's look at the troublemakers. Every one of them, a star, just running things. We are where it's at. We are the A. We are the A. And that's what it is. So, Yeshiva's Lev Simcha, we're the A team. We are the A team. That's it. And the idea is, the challenge is for everyone to feel it. And there's also work to do. I have a kid that sat on the couch for the first month of yeshiva on his phone. I said to him, enjoy the holidays. It was a sukkah's time, because when you get back, you could pick which class you're coming to. But we're starting to work. Exercise is beginning. We're going to start weaning you off the couch. And that's how it works. Obviously, they have to work, but they're working their work. They're dealing with their demons. They're dealing with their challenges, not mine, not the schools. And I'm not going to say not the Torahs, because it ultimately is the Torahs, but it's very personal. The Zera Shimshon brings a beautiful thing about Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock. And Hashem said, that's it. Such a chilul Hashem. Yan lo himantim be like the Shem, you're done. Really? 40 years earlier, Hashem told him to hit the rock. And he hit the rock, and it was wonderful, and they had water, and he gave them Shabbos. It was like unbelievable. It was such a wonderful time. Kiddush Hashem. And the same act suddenly is a Chilul Hashem. What happened? He says that the generation that came out of Mitzrayim, what was their definition of strength, of power? It was the whip. They all had taskmasters. The power was in the whip. So when Hashem wanted to show them his power, he said, take the whip and whip the rock, because that's all they're going to be able to relate to. They're slaves. 40 years later, let's look at the kids in the desert. Spoiled brats, credit cards, the clothes were washed by the Anania covered. The mun fell every day, right? Yeah. Right? Everything's done for them. It's complete, total chill city. Uh-oh, you want a hit now? No, that's Chilul Hashem. You can't make the generation gap? Step aside, Yeshua's taking over. So he says, Torah is nitzchi. Torah is forever. Torah doesn't change. But how you deliver it changes. And if you can't make the change, step aside. Wow. There was a generation gap. 40 years have gone by. So that's what it is. I'm relating to the kids well because I never grew up. Right. I act like I can act like a kid with them, which is why they enjoy my company and I enjoy their company, and then we can get things done in the process. But I think first of all, I just want to all teenagers out there listening. If you feel a barrier with your parents, it's ideal if you can make a connection. But if you feel you can't, find a teacher, find a confidant that you can trust. Open up to. There are people out there who love you unconditionally, who want to help you, who want to pay back, who want to give back. There are places out there. You're not alone. It's a crazy thing with with everything that's going on today with communication. It's possible to be completely isolated.
It's true, yeah.
And there is help out there, but you need to just take that step. And that's what Elul is all about. Elul is really this chill time where the king is saying, I'm not so scary. Just step out.
Wow.
I'm in the field. Just walk out of your. That's all you got to do. Just walk out. Make that one step. Connect with me. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna send you to I'm not gonna send you to your death. It's a chill time. The king is in the field. It's a time where we can all. It's about love. Elul is the most amazing time, and we know in some societies, it's like we have to. There's an avoider for that, and there was a time for that, and there are some people that is their connection. But for the majority today, that is not what it is. We need to realize Elul is a very, very special time. It's an amazing time to connect. And people should reach out, because there is a lot of help out there. And ask God to make sure. By the way, God speaks English, German, Russian, you name it. He knows all the languages. So you don't take a siddur. You want to connect with God, say, hi, God, you created me. You put me on this wood. I need your help. Just walk into your backyard. Yeah. And I want to say, that's how I got help. That's how I got help. The Rabbi taught me.
Wow.
I have a connection with God. He said to me, you there's things you don't understand. Go have it out with him. I said, well, how's he going to answer me? That's his problem. You want something from you? That's his problem. You go out and you talk. Don't worry about him.
Wow.
And I started doing it. And it was the most incredible, it was the most liberating thing, because I was such an angry kid, and I was such a frustrated kid. And I was able to just go out and say, why are you putting me through this? Why do I have so much pain? Why? Help me, guide me. And eventually, after a few weeks of it, and it was so therapeutic, it was fantastic.
I'm sure.
All of a sudden, Rabbi tells me, you'll notice that whenever you're struggling, God comes to save you. So he told me about the story of Yosef, how the image of his father came. It wasn't just the image of his father. It was a strength from God to be able to overcome. And he's saying that whenever you're struggled, whenever you have a test, there's always a way out that God gives you. And if you hang on to it, you can get out. And he taught me how to see Hashgacha Pratis. But real Hashgacha Pratis. Hashgacha Pratis that is unique to Shlomo, Simcha, Sufrin. Nobody else. Exactly anything, from somebody yelling at me from their car, from somebody scaring me, to somebody complimenting me, from somebody, whatever it is, you're about to do something bad and you see somebody that shouldn't have been in that neighborhood and saw you and stopped you. That's God saying, I'm here to help you. Grab onto that. I'm blocking you for a reason. You could continue, or you could connect to me and let it go.
Wow.
And there is never a test that doesn't come with one of those. And Rabbi taught me that free choice is, do you tune in to hear where God is? Do you tune in to see and hear where God's talking to you, or do you tune out? That's really what free choice is.
Wow.
But the challenges, they're not your free choice. When someone's born into a family where the father's not well, or the mother's not well, or the parents divorce, or there is abuse, an uncle, an aunt, somebody there's abuse, they didn't choose that. So where's the free choice? Today, you're 17 years old. Unfortunately, you were abused by somebody. Unfortunately, you had a hard time with your parents. Unfortunately, this happened. God set that up for you to be able to do the tikkun that you came down to do, to help the tikkun of the world, whatever it is. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Also, there's two ways that you could look at it. One way you could look at it as that you're the victim, or you look at it as this situation is going to help me grow. Because there's two different people, and two people come out two different ways, but they went through the same thing. One decided that they're a victim, they're going to live their whole life acting like a victim. And then there's the other person who's going to tell himself, I'm growing from this experience. From this experience, I'm going to become stronger. I'm going to go. So much comes out of that. And then one person is successful, and one ends up in the mental hospital. So that's also really important in your mindset.
Right, 100%, 100%. So we, in other words, instead of spending time beating ourselves up about what we went through, and could we have done anything different? No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. And any victim has been out there. Don't think for 1 second you could have done anything different. They were smarter than you. They took advantage of you at a time when you didn't know better. But now God is standing with you and saying, what are you going to do with that pain? What are you going to do with that situation? How are you going to navigate the world? You know, when COVID hit, my mentality was just lay low, be home, it'll be over soon. And then Y.Y. Jacobson came on the screen and he said, my friends, it's not about getting to the other side. It's about learning to dance in the rain.
Wow.
Changed my whole COVID.
Wow.
Because it's today, it's Monday morning and there's COVID. What are you doing now? The world's shut down. What are you doing with it? You just want to lay there and wait? Why were you born? Why did you wake up this morning?
Yeah.
You got to do something with today. And I remember one thing that happened in COVID is I didn't have a good connection with learning with my kids. Because, you know, if I corrected, you know, I came across criticism, and I always wished I could go back and do that. And I was able to go to my boys and say, listen, God made this situation here where we're stuck at home. Give me the chance to let's redo that. Give me the chance, come sit with me, and let's make it enjoyable. And I'm glad that they gave me that opportunity. But like, you have to look at situations and say, okay, whatever it is, it may look like a crisis, but it's the nudge us towards something. So we need to look, there are real crises out there. I'm not saying when a kid is suffering, the kid feels pain, it's very real.
Right.
What do we do with it? God gave us the ability to come out of this ahead. Let's find it.
Wow.
And there are people out there who will help you find it.
Wow. It's deep. Rabbi, wow.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. I want to wish everybody it's a good year. The king is still in the field. Go out there. And
everyone better go do that. It's sunny outside. Rabbi, thank you so much for joining
it's a
this
pleasure.
amazing interview. I really appreciated it. I had no words this whole time. No words. Usually I'm the one talking. No words. I learned so much from this conversation. I'm sure everyone else did. I don't think anyone needed to hear my voice. It's all you. It's all you. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And yeah,
it should be a good year.
Have an amazing day.